Hello everybody, this is Manufactio, my name is Frogman, and welcome to my world. I decided that I was going to do a kind of a walkthrough because my base is fixing to make major changes as I've got a lot of the advanced logistical systems unlocked now finally, plus a lot of the nanotechnology unlocked, so I'm going to be restructuring the way everything goes out, at least on the factory floor and a few places in here. So I kind of wanted to document my work up to this point so that everybody can kind of see what kind of a mess this can actually be. So this is my workshop. This is where I deep storage a lot of my ingots and the redstone for the factory floor. This is also some of the main crafting areas. You can see I've got a few of these EFABs that I haven't touched in a long time, and the main reason why I'm here. I am currently located in probably one of the worst places you can possibly be, which is a swamp, but it has been very fruitful because of the fact of that thing. There was one of those little buildings here, and I decided I was going to stay because of a crafting table, because a crafting table speeds up crafting considerably faster than what these things can do. These are just here for decoration pretty much. So I have some, basically what we're looking at here is this is the end of the sorting line from the factory. So all of the raw materials are processed way the heck over there, and then they're drug into here. And then if it doesn't go into these, it drops down into these sorters, which I have various filters and whatnot for these chests. So the stuff sometimes gets dumped in it, sometimes it doesn't. As you can see, I've got a lot of stuff, and of course I still have a bunch of things that are in the 100 stack because of the fact that of the mod that we had in here that was doing stacks that big. I haven't tried to mess with this chest because if I do, it'll blow up. Yes, I have a lot of glowstone, and you'll see why in a little bit. So the reason, like I said, we're working on trying to get these applied energistic systems up and running so that I can quit doing a lot of this and a lot of the belts and a lot of the other things that are kind of slow and they take up a lot of space. So we can kind of wander out this direction and go kind of look at a few things here. We've got a couple more machines. You can see I've processed quite a bit of nether quartz through the crystallizer using the hardened sand. It's a pain, but it works for right now. I have a precision assembler that I've been using to make a few parts, and well, you know, it's just going to be one of those, we're going to need it. So some more garden closures with a few things that we need, and my little wash plant for filters, which basically you toss a dirty filter in this chest, and then it uses one of these gas mask filters in some water to make some clean ones. So I guess I'll grab those while we're here. This guy's making silicon for me because, you know, applied energistics. Got a couple of more tools over here. Got a plate press or a metal press that just does stuff that I need to do when I need it. Crusher, just in case, you know, one of those things. I have a bunch of other things to play with, but this guy is here to do just basic menial tasks. I've been working on this. As you can see, the drop rate or the production rate for these is pretty low. If you need 40 of them to even start the Coverex process or whatever we call it, the reprocessing process, it's going to be a while. Not that it's a big deal, I have quite a bit, but still. To the factory floor. As you can see, I have a very large roof over everything. This is covering the entire factory floor for the most part, or any place that's going to be a pollution, you know, emitter is covered by this roof. And then I have several pollution pumps that are picking up the pollution as it comes out. As you can see, I have high voltage power coming from my generation station over there, and it is then distributed out to the rest of the machines. Lights are off because for some odd reason every time I load the world it burns the wires for them. I still haven't figured out why, so whatever. These chests right here have the end-all science production put in them, so we have the greens and the blues and the reds are in that one and on down the line. This is where the lab's output to. As you can see, I have logistical sorters or logistical transporters underneath here. The system is I still have the pipes kind of set up so you can see them. The pipes, this is where the belts actually went to feed the system prior to me changing over to these. There was actually 3 or 4 belts, I believe, out here that ran around the corner and went down that way. So I did kind of have a little bit of a belt bus at one point. So on the bottom of those silos are logistical sorters that deliver all of the raw materials to the actual factory. So they deliver the stuff to my plate presses, and yes, I'm using these as spacers because I have piles of them. Plate presses, basically for iron for here, and then these are gear presses, which are doing the exact same thing, you know, that everybody else is doing. And then I have the copper wires over here. And what's nice about this is this just feeds right into the next one. They don't pop up off the belt, so you don't have to worry about running into them. I'm using redstone probe connectors to control when these things turn on and off. That's how you can keep these things pretty narrow. So basically what I do is I measure off of this chest and send it into this probe connector, which then I think there's a piece or two of redstone underneath there just to keep a couple of stacks in the system. And then there's a bunch of connectors on the bottom of these presses that then shut things on and off or turn things on and off as we see fit. So if I grab one of those, they'll go to work. And if I put them back, they'll stop. And then those, of course, dump out of here. I'm using hoppers because I have lots of hoppers, just piles of hoppers. So that's why those are there. Okay, on to the first sciences. These are the red science producers. Of course, it's just really simple. There's a little bitty single basic assembler here making red science, shoving it into this lab. Simple, easy. Come over to this corner so we can kind of take a look at this. This machine here is making the immersive engineering belts. This machine here is making the conveyor belts from magnetic craft, but you know, I'm not using those anymore. I need to take this down. It's going to go away here fairly soon anyway. That machine right here, this assembler, is making the inserters for the green science, which is being made here. And then, of course, processed in this laboratory. They were kind of just, this was a spot to put them. That's how they ended up. This guy here is making the green control circuits, or basic control circuits. And this has been a lot of fun to try to keep up with because of the amount of copper wire that this thing can do. This one single machine can keep up with the rest of the factory and the usage just because it processes green circuits so fast. But trying to keep up with that has been a pain because I've actually had to use a logistical sorter cramming things in as fast as it possibly can with a buffer chest down here to just keep that full. So it does work, it's just, you know, pain. All right, so these furnaces here are making the stone, the hardened stone, and the hardened stone bricks for the other processes in the factory. Cobblestone is made over there in that cobble gen. It's just where it ended up, and it just, you know, that's a good spot to leave it. They're being powered by, of course, the external heaters because of the process that if we look at hardened stone, you can only make it in a furnace or a blast furnace. And I really had no interest in hauling coal all the way over to here to try to keep some blast furnaces happy. I would love that if that would be an electric furnace recipe, but it's not, so it's fine. We come over to, let's see, we're going to go to these two guys here. This guy here is making the red circuits. This thing is super stupid slow. If you're going to be doing this, or at least trying to keep up with science, make two of these. They're just not fast enough by themselves. This guy here is making blue circuits. They're pretty well taken care of. This doesn't really chew through a lot of things. It's actually pretty slow and doesn't take very much to keep working. So we'll get into some of the other sciences over here. Of course, we have military science, so we're making grenades in this machine. I'm making pistol ammo in this machine, and then we're combining them together in here to make the military science, and then that lab is taking care of the actual research for us. That's what I was hoping to see. There's a lava lake under here that I'm using to get my lava, and I have to vent this because I'm using an immersive engineering windmill down there, or wind turbine down there, to power the pump. And if I do not vent that, it fills up to the level of the windmill and then shuts off my lava production. So yeah, I have to do that. Got lucky, there was a nice big lava lake underneath my base, but it is still a pain in the butt. Okay, sun's going down. I think we can get through this real quick. These machines here, this machine here, this machine here, I should say, we can start over here. This guy is making fluid pipes for the, I believe it's blue science right there. So we're making motors. These are getting crammed into here with things from this deal here. This guy is making drill structure blocks, and this is making the blue science into the lab that's making blue research. So that's pretty simple there. This system right here is the parts that make the production science. So we're crafting productivity modules in this one. We're taking engines, or the motors from over there, and we're making electric engines, and they're being stuffed into this assembler to make the production science, and of course then the researcher. Since we're on this end of the factory, I do have a couple of things. There's a small mine shaft, or I should say small miner, that I have back in that mountain way over there that's getting copper and redstone for me. There's a failed experiment up there. They're worthless, but there's a bunch of, what do you call them, mechanism wind turbines up there. They're They're okay. They're not the greatest thing in the world. This production line here is heading over to where I have about 40, I think, solar panels, the advanced solar panels. Hi! And then it's delivered over here. There's a couple of high voltage capacitors over there as well that are taking care of the process. We're not going to go over there. There's a desert over there that they're sitting in. So, and since it's cheaty, we'll let that go through. Next step is going to be going through the next little bit of science over here, which is the last little bit. So I will come to this point here. This plate maker is making copper plates so that I can make with plastic and of course the aforementioned steel that's over here. Makes low density structures. This guy is making the yellow cake, which I have lots of uranium in deep storage. You can just barely see it over there. And then this guy is making solid fuel. And I think I finally ran all that excess up. That's all being pumped into this assembler that's making the yellow science, or the high-tech science, and then of course the high-tech research. Simple, easy, not too bad. Of course, we have two chemical plants over here. One is making plastic, the other one is making sulfur, which is then being fed into this machine with pulverized iron and sulfur and water to make sulfuric acid so that we can do the processing of all the things that we need to do. We'll walk around the back over here. That's going to be part of the processing thing. So we're taking this sulfuric acid, putting it in this mixer with gunpowder to make creeper acid, which is then being delivered into this reaction chamber to process titanium ore. I've been doing this by hand, so I've just been turning this on and off as I need it. It's not a really big deal right now. Okay. This was a project that I did quite a while back. Anybody that's played vanilla knows what this is. This is what happens when you have a witch hut sitting in your area. It's a swamp. It's one of the other reasons why I was here. And it has been producing. As you saw, I had piles and piles of glowstone over there. All that glowstone that I got came from this farm, which is unfortunate because I believe Galrith is probably disabled witch spawning. So this is probably useless now. Whatever. We'll come up with something. Okay, so let's get on into the rest of the processing. Of course, we have some coal coke ovens over here making coal coke that then feed that into here to make steel. This is not the most efficient way to do it, but it's fast enough. That's all that matters. This is fast enough. I need creosote oil and I need the coal coke to be able to make the arc furnace function, so it's there. Dude, seriously, I mean, these are just go. Whoop. Seriously. Anyhow, we need all that to make this work. And again, we're doing just something very simple where I have an output here where they just deliver into this, that then goes into a chest full of steel ingots. And then this is then delivered over to here with some similar redstone control underneath. So that's how I produce steel plates and steel. Alright, so that's the main factory floor. It's been this way for quite a long time and it's been functioning pretty fine. I mean, I haven't really had a problem with it other than just once everything lights up and goes to work, I start backing up. Or should start running out of red circuits because it's just that one circuit maker can't keep up with the system. So, all right, on to the beginning of the actual, smelting, crushing, furnace, all that kind of fun stuff. This line is like I said, the beginning or the end, should I say, of the system that delivers into the actual base itself. So, I have a bunch of electric furnaces here taking care of things. They're okay. I still kind of wish I would have just stayed with the blast furnaces, but they do work. I don't know whether the productivity modules are working or not. Speed modules definitely help on some of the lower stuff. So this is a control panel. It's an older control panel. I haven't been using it for a while. It's back when I didn't have the automation that I needed, but these allow me to turn on these silos that are full of the various pulverized materials into, basically dumps them onto a belt that you can see over here that then, puts it into these furnaces that then goes over there. This is all automated now. Every bit of this manages itself automatically, which is pretty cool. We go over here. I've got some crushers going on underneath their little structure. I really, really like the nickel sheet metal. Looks really good. Crushers take care of the process to keep these guys full. I did this because I needed pulverized iron for the creeper acid. And I figured since I needed that, why not just go ahead and pulverize all the materials? As you can see, I've got 20,000 gold in this box. That has all pretty much come from the copper that I have worked through on this system. Pretty much. So the other thing I have found is if you have a lot of extra lubricant, feed it to your crushers, feed it to your immersive engineering machines. It'll take it, they speed up, and it gets rid of some of the lubricant. So these guys are deep storage for ores. Gold is supposed to go in here. I haven't gotten any gold recently. Slowly accumulating some redstone here, and I do have a few other things coming in. I've got more of that around, but these are all just kind of stuff. We have the slag sitting here. I'm keeping it over here because the crushers can then do the work to make sand and gunpowder. And there's the lag, thank you. So they're over here, and I just, whenever I need some more sand or some more gunpowder, I just turn one of those on and dump it onto this belt. These guys spread it out fairly reasonably evenly, although it does kind of act a little stupid when you're doing more than one ore type or more than one crushing process. So there's sorters and stuff on top of all of these. All of those belts have, you know, the ability to pretty much, it works its way down, sorts its way out, and goes to where it needs to go. All right. This is going to be some of the fun stuff that we're going to talk about really, really, really quickly. The automation of how I make all of this stuff manage its inventory, which is pretty redstone wiry. So if I can get down here, we'll go all the way back over to the main base real quick. It shouldn't take too much. I'm using redstone probes on the bottom of the silos, or on the side of the silos, to deliver a redstone signal down here to this little circuit. Basically what I'm doing is I'm using comparator and subtract mode to compare the signal from a full, you know, redstone signal. So there's 15 coming in here. And what happens is when this thing gets to a certain point, oh my goodness, gets to a certain point where this is, you know, capable of subtracting a certain amount, I get to where I have a redstone off signal here, which then shuts a torch off, which shuts a few other things off. Just basically keeps the system functioning. If I have a low signal, it turns that torch off, which turns this torch on, which then turns the outputs on the bottom of the silos that go into the furnaces on. So we're underneath that set of silos now. So okay, that's cool. That means those are automated to do that. In here, we have the same kind of a circuit, except I'm missing the second torch. What happens in here is when this realizes, or I should say when this sees that it's empty, which we can see that right there, it does the exact same thing. It turns off a torch, which then does some little magics over here. I have hopper clocks running on the outputs of all of the silos over here so that I'm not continuously dumping stuff onto the belt, because you can overstuff those crushers really quickly, really easily. So I allow them to only run for about that long, and then what happens is they shut off for a while, which allows the crusher to catch up. This is not how this works anymore. However, I could probably just get away with partial of this, but every single one of these has this set up on it. And if you notice, I also have the same circuit on the bottom of these guys. This system here is allowing me to measure when to turn on certain mines. So when I'm running low on ores up on top, I can turn a miner on that will automatically go and refill the system. I'm only doing it on a couple of them right now because I only need it for a couple of them. Except for the redstone, which I actually need to get the redstone hooked up and working. But all of this system, of course, I kind of got a little lazy with the coloring, but it does function. See, I think the redstone just went. One of them just went. I heard it. Something went, but it doesn't really matter. I have wire everywhere. It's ridiculous. There's not much I can do about it. Anyhow, that's how the function works. It automatically takes care of itself, and there's one more fail-safe, which is this little system right here. If I can get up. That fail-safe is a probe connector that comes off of this chest. So if I put anything, if anything ends up in this chest, what it does is it sends a signal that locks out those hopper clocks. Because if you're processing more than one ore type, it's not very hard to backstuff these quite a ways, which can overflow the system. And then you end up with leftovers all over the place. It's happened many times. Plus, I also have an automatic shut-off right here that lets me turn off anything coming out of this system. So it keeps itself fed and it does fairly well. So I'm happy with it for the most part. Okay, so over here is the rail yard and the output for a couple of the other systems. I'm currently trying to get some copper and a couple other things going, but this is the easy way to get from that belt to that belt, unless you use these, which is getting from that belt to this system over here. This guy is processing the uranium for me, which I am currently pretty well full up on, and I don't even know what's in that, but okay. This is also getting a little bit of osmium occasionally. I've gotten about 3 or 4 stacks out of it. These guys, I love these hoppers. These are so great. They just, as soon as you can get something into them, they go quickly. So I think I've got a bunch of stuff in here. That's a full copper, full heart, full guy. And of course I'm using the engines, so he'll go blip, 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 blip. It's so fast. Love it. He'll come out of here, and I'll just let him go on and go get some more. I have yet to redstone control this, but it is working. I just need to do a little bit more functioning. So, all right. This is my oil factory refinery system for the most part. I have tanks that are coming in from the pumps that are around the area. Of course, I have a silo to store the junk that you don't need. A immersive engineering refinery, which is currently off because I think we're fairly well backstuffed. I think we're going to go ahead and turn him back on. Of course, tanks to hold things, along with a bottle filler or bottling machine to fill up these guys. And I hear one. Where is he? It's getting nighttime anyway. And then, of course, some cracking machines. I'm not using this one cracking right now. It's actually making the Spirium ingots. But these 2 guys are cracking lubricant into gasoline just so that I can get rid of some of the excess. So we're going to do the... Oh, there... What? Great. Well, this might be fun. Okay. And, of course, I've got a couple of little gasoline generators just to get rid of gasoline in case I run into too much. I've actually had to use them a couple times. So we'll go ahead and kind of route this out really quickly. This is the power generation area as far as my base is concerned for the most part. This is how I'm making power. It's going to get a little dark, but we have a forestry tree farm over here that is producing logs and a bunch of other stuff. And it looks like I need to dump this again, which I'll just take care of those in a second. Okay. This system here basically does what you think it does. It makes trees. Well, those trees, or those logs, come out of this area, and they go into my boiler building, which I have 4 4x4 by 6 and a little bit boilers in here that are fed by some more of these little furnace guys. And basically, this is how I feed my base power. I know it doesn't look like it's connected, but it is. These guys then deliver steam into this tank, which is, just there for fun pretty much because it doesn't stay full, into 2 of these babies. And these 2 guys just pretty much spin constantly, and there goes the little I'm not here immersive engineering glitch, into 6 of these, which I am then, 12 of those high voltage capacitors, which are then, why is that in here? Something must have died in here. That's great. Then it's delivered into the ceiling, which is then delivered into the rest of the system, or at least the rest of the base. So I had a little bitty capacitor building at one point where when I had my diesel gens, I had some capacitors in here that I have not torn this building down yet. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I may throw it away or may tear it down. I might put something in it. At this point, I don't really know. You can see some of the rail line that is going over towards one of my mining outpost areas, I guess you could call it, which is over there, which we'll go visit in just a second. Of course, this is the original farming area that I had. Once you get garden closures, you don't need to farm, so it's not a big problem. So let's go see how bad this is going to be. We can walk over here, shotgun out, just in case. Alrighty, this area has been producing for me quite a bit of titanium and quite a bit of coal, as well as a whole bunch of other materials. I'm going to be doing some excavator over here, but I think there was some redstone. I think there's some gold actually, and then there's some redstone and other things over here, but I think that's going to be a while from now. I have just a couple of miners over here that are taking care of their end of the business, and they have been delivering quite a bit of stuff. We've got quite a bit of lead, quite a bit of silver, Iron is coming out of that one. I have piles of coal. I actually had a mine out in the middle of there where I've gotten all my emeralds from. And then, of course, we come back here. We have a little bit of titanium and some more diamonds. I've got so many diamonds, I don't know what I'm going to do with them all. Okay, and this is the end of this line. That's pretty much the base as how it works at this point, I think. Walk back over here. Looks pretty good at night. Those chimneys actually smoke. I kind of cheated in some smokers. Okay, well, I think that should do just about everything. I don't think I have anything else to show. I guess thank you guys for watching, and if this works out okay, I may do another one of these when I upgrade this base. So, thank you.